Hey everyone, Mark at Lowen University. Welcome to lesson 76. In this lesson, we're going to be discussing 3 plucking patterns that you must be practicing as a beginner player. And the concept I'm going to talk about transcends the beginner difficulty entirely, actually. And any intermediate or advanced players who may be watching this, I definitely invite you to incorporate this into your practice routine, as it can be just as beneficial at faster tempos. Just like any exercise, if you speed it up, it changes difficulty on that alone. So 3 plucking patterns you must be practicing. Now you say, Mark, how can you narrow down all of music to just 3 plucking patterns? There's millions of styles and millions of different kinds of basses and genres, time signatures and rhythms. How can you narrow it down to just 3? Well, I'll tell you. So if I were to look at any piece of music, the 3 basic note groupings are groupings of 2 notes, 3 notes, and 4 notes. That's how all of music is phrased and written. Now, of course, there are notes that exist by themselves. But one note, you can't really use alternate plucking. And the basis of what we're talking about is using alternate plucking. One note can be plucked by any finger, and there's no context for just a single note. So at the root of it, groupings of 2, 3, and 4 notes are all that exist. You can say, Mark, well, there's groupings of 5 notes and 6 notes and 8 notes. That's fine, but a grouping of 5 notes is just a grouping of 2 notes plus 3 notes. A grouping of 6 notes is 3 notes plus 3 notes. A grouping of 8 notes is 4 notes and then 4 notes, which if you divide 4 notes, but you get what I'm saying. So at the root of it, 2, 3, and 4 is all we need to worry about. And this all has to do with being fluid when changing strings. That's the toughest thing a bass player can do. Sitting on one string playing something, it's very easy. So if I were to demonstrate what 2 grouping, 3 grouping, and 4 groupings of notes sound like on one string, this is what it would sound like. Okay, right now I'm going to play groupings of 2 notes. Now I'm going to play groupings of 3 notes. Now I'm going to play groupings of 4 notes. It's all the same. So this concept is best used when changing strings. None of this applies to one string because there's no difference with 2, 3, and 4 note groupings on one string. It's all the same thing. Okay, so that concept is meaningless on one string, but if you change it to 2 strings, 2 adjacent strings, that's what it's all about, moving string to string and being fluid with that. You must be fluid going from string to string. So we change that concept to 2 strings. We're going to be using the D string and the A string, open A string with fretted A on the D string, fret 7, these 2 notes. Just octave A's. Okay, let's talk about the 2 note grouping. So if I just went between 2 notes, it would be rate 1, 2. So if it went back and forth, it would be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? And the purpose of this lesson is to get you comfortable leading with any finger and being able to change strings leading with any finger. And being comfortable alternate plucking regardless of the finger. You need to just have this 2-finger system as solid as possible. And as a beginner, this is very fundamentally important. So you want to try alternating those, index and then middle. So we're just talking about 2 note groupings. 1, 2, then middle finger. 1, 2, 1, 2. Of course, you can put a metronome with this. I'll just leave it blank for now. No tempo. Now, why this is a common plucking pattern you need to know, because that's a very common thing you'd be using in music. You're going to be playing a groove on one note. You need to reach up for a 3rd or a 5th. And that's basically an arpeggio, and bass players play arpeggios. So I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say that it's very safe for me to say that these are very common plucking patterns that you're going to find. And if you practice these, that should universally be a blanket thing that will help you in your endeavors playing bass. Let's talk about the 3 note grouping now. Groupings of 3. You can think of those as triplets, but we're not going to try to bind these to a rhythm. We're just going to talk about groupings of notes, the fundamental groupings of notes, 2, 3, and 4. So 2 note groupings, practice raking. You need to lead with both fingers. Now the 3 note grouping, you're going to rake and pluck the open A string for 2 notes, and then your 3rd note is going to be with the other finger. So the top note is going to be the same every time. So here we go with that one, leading with the index. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. And of course you can speed that up. Another very common plucking pattern. You know, any bass line might be. just playing something like that, very basic. I'm going between those plucking patterns interchangeably. They're very common. That's why I'm saying this. Okay? Now you want to practice leading with the middle finger too. So instead of just doing index leading, try starting with the middle finger so it goes backwards. Middle, middle, index. Go back to index. Switch. Okay, let's talk about the last one, the 4-note grouping. Same thing applies. We're just putting more notes on that open A string and leading with the index or the middle and the top string. So now if I were just to strictly alternate pluck on this one, and if I kept it going, it's going to be a different leading finger every single time. It's going to be index, index, middle, index, and then middle, middle, index, middle, and back and forth. So watch slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Changes every time. Okay, let's review. 2-note groupings. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Of course, you want to speed these up. 3-note groupings. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Try the second variation. And then 4-note groupings. Okay, and you can even make another variation of that where you actually keep the same finger on the top note and you just repeat it, so it'd go like this. You could legitimately alternate, do no raking. So you're kind of reaching up for that top note. Same way the other way. Okay, now I've done a lot of variations, so of course this is more than 3 ways to practice it. But at the root of it, you're taking 2, 3, and 4-note groupings, and you're just putting the first note as the fretted note on the A string, and any remaining notes on the open A string. Now how you pluck that is all a variation, it's all a wash. You need to practice all of these. And the reason this is important, once again, any bass line, any type of music, any phrase, it's ideal to think that there's a set way to pluck any of it. And if I were to just play along with any song for you right now, you know, my plucking hand technique is on autopilot, but if you were to watch just my plucking hand, there would be no pattern as to what note I'm starting with, what note I'm ending with, what note I'm, what order I'm plucking the fingers on a certain strings, or if I'm raking with this finger. It's just whatever comes natural, and it's all economy of motion. And you need to get to the point where no matter what you're playing, your plucking hand can accommodate it. Your plucking hand can achieve it. So this is a great starting point as a beginner player, because going through all these variations on those 3 plucking patterns, that's going to cover, I'm going to say, 90% of the stuff you'll play. It will be familiar in a muscle memory format for your plucking hand to do it. And of course, like I said, if you're intermediate or advanced, or this is something that's not too new to you, speed it up really fast and see how you can achieve it. And rhythmically, you can just put those as 2-note groupings as 8th notes, 3-note groupings as triplets, and then 4-note groupings as 16th notes, all in the same tempo. Provides all sorts of challenges. Okay, check out the lesson file PDF that goes along with this. I can kind of have this tabbed out for you just as a reminder of the 3 points. Practice this, and we will see you next time.